to Keith Flitner, who is talking about a new approach to marine debris cleanup technologies.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Mark, for having us here. I'll start off by saying that it's an honor to be here. By degree, I'm an aerospace engineer coming out of corporate America, so this is a new forum for me. And I'm not a natural presenter, so if I get quiet in the middle of the presentation, you can't hear me in the background, throw something at me or just give me a signal, all right, and we'll move from there. They say always start with a joke. I haven't heard any, well, the noodle one was good, but anyways, I'm still trying to figure out a good response on that one. But I'll tell you a joke that I've used in the past that I used at a couple lectures at Cal State Fullerton earlier this year. All right, are you ready? There's three beer corporate executives having lunch together: Coors, Bud, and Kona Brew, right? Which we went to yesterday. All right, so they're all having lunch, and the waitress comes up to take the order, and of course the executive from Coors, he orders a Coors, and the executive from Bud orders a Budweiser, and then the Kona Brew executive, he says, you know what, I'm just gonna have water. And they're like, what are you doing? Why aren't you having your beer? And he says, well, if you're not drinking beer, I'm not gonna drink beer. There you go. Oh yeah, all right, so let's see, I start on a low note, you click it up from there, right? I think you all have a little booklet we put together where I guess I'll start out by saying too, again, I'm an engineer, came out of corporate America. I had a colleague that called me that I worked with years ago, and he said, hey, are you interested in, what do you know about ocean plastics? I guess the new terminology, ocean waste plastics, OWP. I think everyone's trying to create the standards on how to speak and talk to each other and study the problem. And I said, well, I have been interested in it, always been thinking about something and a solution. So last fall we collaborated and formed a nonprofit. So I'll give you a little intro on it. There's a lot of levels to this. I'm stepping into a world that I'm not really, didn't grow up in, like a lot of you, it's your careers. We're volunteers, we paid our own airfare to come over here. And it's a part-time thing for us, as we all have to keep our families going. Have a son heading off to college a year after this. I was trying to bring him along to come and visit, but just couldn't afford it this summer. But anyways, long story short, I guess I'll stand here because it's easier to present to my right. But Oceans United, we started, I need the clicker though, right? See, I'm not a natural.
You're doing great.
All right. I'll try and make it fast if I start going into rabbit holes or something, and then later on when we have questions, because there's a lot of levels to this, I might not be able to address it right here, but we're here for the next 2 days, so please come and ask me anything you want on the side. We're, of course, trying to be as transparent as we can. So again, my name is Keith Flitner. Nadre is here with me. He helped put the presentation together. My co-founder, his name is Michel Berthiaume. He's actually out of Canada. He's helped fund it from the start, and he's actually, just a little foreshadowing, we signed our papers for our first ship on Monday, and he's flying down to Africa because of the technology we have. There's a lot of global interest, and actually it's out of Lagos, if you say Lagos right, I say Lagos, not Lagos, Nigeria. They're interested in, because they're swimming in their own plastic inland and a land-based system. So, all right, you doing it right? That's not right. Right one? God love you and thank you for the help. Yeah. So here's a graphic to start us off, but I'll jump into the background and again, I'll make it fast. So here's a little spinning animation of the ship. The ship's based on an actual ship. This isn't just conceptual. Nadre did the animation for us. A little shout out to him because that took a lot of hours and that's one of his skill sets. I was thinking that we should make the orca, that new, was it species D they discovered down in Antarctica, because it's the newest subspecies out there. If I'm saying the right terminology, again, I'm not a marine biologist, so if I butcher some terms, give me a little credit. In the aerospace world, I'm dead on, but here in the environmental community. So we put a couple, 4 bullet points on here again: ocean waste plastic problem, a unique ship, to tackle the marine debris, and I think someone earlier said marine debris is that collective term for it out there. What's different about what we're doing? On board, we have a high capacity recycling technology that allows us to, if you can project forward, you're not just going out collecting and bringing it back, out collecting and bringing it back. If you talk to Ocean Cleanup, that's their biggest carbon footprint, is that fuel transiting back and forth, right? So in this case here, we have the ability to process all plastics, all grades. It's actually all waste and marine debris, whether it's wood, cellulose, biological. The process itself can take all debris without any separation, sorting, cleaning, things like that. And then again, once we stuck our head up and started putting some stuff out on the web and social media, we started getting calls because, as Dr. Maximenko was indicating, ship time is very expensive. We've got a great ship. It's the size of a football field. So we put 2 classrooms and 2 research labs onto the 3rd deck to support access to ocean research. And so, again, if that's something that's of interest to any of you out there, collaboration is the key to moving forward. This is some general stuff. I think you've all seen it, but we put this slide together because at first we were out raising awareness, and then we realized that, I went and gave a presentation at the Explorers Club during World Ocean Day week, actually in New York, and I first heard the term eco-anxiety, and you've seen it now with children. Even they're learning so much about conservation, but not a lot of action is being done. There's a lot of awareness out there. And this slide just shows you some of the videos that have been taken around. I'm not going to waste the time to show those, but of course Bali was one from 2 years ago by a British diver out there. And then the Seeker video kind of is a timeline documentation of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, GPGP. And then there was recently one out in the Caribbean, and if you've read some of the reports coming out now, that Sargasso bloom that's going from Cameroon, Africa, all the way into the Caribbean is just incredible. Again, the studies that are out there, is it linked to over-fertilization, nitrates and phosphates going into the ocean, things like that. But again, I'm not a scientist. We're happy to support, but we can just mow through there and grab that. So that's really our goal. All right, Jim. All right. Go back. Here we go. So I don't think this crowd needs to be educated on what the GPGP is. It's out there. This is from the 5 Gyres Institute. A lot of you might know Marcus Erickson, or you've seen his stuff. He's quite prolific out there in the environmental community. He happens to live. I live in Southern California. He lives there too. He's one of the first people that called us and, "What are you doing? What are you doing? And what technology are you using?" And actually helped propel us. Dr. Maximenko was also one of the early consultants on what we were doing. And every time we hit a roadblock, we tried to challenge it. So what we've done, I'm speaking very, very fast. I hope it's not too fast. You can tell me to slow down, speak louder. The technology that we have on board our ship is actually, it's a second round of technology. We first looked at pyrolysis, and if any of you have ever heard that, it's a lot of the technology that's used specifically like for tire recycling or certain types of plastic. And it's usually it's a gas process. It's high temperature. And then you get a syngas byproduct. You can filter that, use it like natural gas. It's interesting though, when you put high temperature and explosive gas on a ship, not the best combination, right? So the 2nd generation technology we looked at happened to be under research in Canada, the Canadian National Research Council, and it's called hydrothermal liquefaction. You can find it on Wikipedia. It's a technology that actually was first kind of explored and discovered in the 20s, last century, for taking algae, bio oil that comes out of algae and converting it into fuel. So the process that was under research in Canada was how to expand not only that process to be more efficient, but also expand it to other forms of debris that are out there. And so, so we formed an alliance with them, and we have the technology under our Oceans United organization, and there's 3 patents that are covering that technology too that are under, they're pending. So I'll show you about, maybe for those of the techies here, about 85% of our system, the rest is covered under various patents. So, and it's not because I don't want to be open disclosure, but while patents are pending, you're not supposed to talk about them, and so I don't want to get into trouble more than I usually do. So I'll show you a little bit of an animation here. It's working. There's no audio to this animation, but this will take you inside of the vessel. It's a tri-deck catamaran based off of a existing 90-meter car ferry, believe it or not, that's operating in the Nordic Sea. It's the owner is coming off of his lease, and so we've signed the papers, like I said, on Monday. So here you go on to the first check. This is actually a 20 by 20 meter processing system. That's that was already tested in Canada. We did secondary independent validation by Southwest Research Institute in America. That kind of a nominal scene of the people coming in. Again, I'll do a shout out to Nadre for putting the animation together. But now you'll fly into the technology of our system here. So first, it's a liquid-based system, okay, and we call it hybrid hydrothermal liquefaction, so HI-LF. So you'll see it different ways. We're trying to figure out kind of a brand name, but we also call it plastic to fuel or plastic to energy. Now they say in presentations you're not supposed to talk while animation is going on because then you forget both what I've said and what you've seen, but I'll due to the time constraints, I'll do that. My son's like, why are you showing pumps? You know, you don't need to do that. I have a 17-year-old that's my biggest critic, and you know, if you've all had well, you all were teenagers, right? So there's the blender. So I kind of call it brew and stew, and there are people that are into microbrewing, like I used to be. It's also a distilling process, but you know, I'm not a chemist by trade. So there's our slurry pump. So as you go through, you'll see here that in the preheater system, we don't talk about it much, but the steam system that comes here is recycling heat from the shipboard engines. So again, we've integrated it into the ship to be as efficient as possible. It's about 85% efficient if you want to, depending on how you rate efficiency, but 15% of the liquid fuel that we produce out of this process is used to then convert the tonnage that we do based on a 50-ton a day system, so size to 50 tons a day. We're almost coming to the end here. So the last part of the process is the filtration, and that's really the key that gets you that ISO 2 grade fuel. It's a liquid fuel, it's a diesel grade fuel. There's no sulfur in it, so when the new sulfur regulations kick in, it'll actually be exactly what ships are supposed to be using, theoretically, right? That's what they're supposed to use out at sea. All right. Did you like that?
Yeah. Good animation.
It is fast, and it's on our Instagram and LinkedIn. So if you want to go and slow it down and stop, you can look at it, or come by afterwards. We can give you a direct link and you can ask questions. So here's a little bit. This is a notional system. We're working with an existing company that already has developed the conveyor system for bringing the collection and aggregating the debris up. That's what it's supposed to be there. Don't see that. All right. So, but the center hull of the ship, that's part of the retrofit. It's going to go into the shipyard. It's designed to open up, and then the system is stowed during transit because obviously it has to be ocean going and safe out there. So this can't take rough waves and stuff like that. But then it'll come out while it's collecting, and that's how it works in a general nature there. So we're trying to stay with existing technology. In fact, actually, the technology used in the processing center is all existing stuff: the vessels, the pumps, the heat exchangers, everything there. It's just sometimes it's the recipe behind it. It's the heat time, the pressure, things like that all give you what you want. So I already kind of foreshadowed that it's a TRIDAC. So I tried to give you a little example of how that looks. We're working in collaboration with the shipyard that actually built the original ship that's down there, and they're based out of Australia and Tasmania. It's called INCAT. They're one of the world's top, actually even for speed. And then the shipyard is actually in the UK in Southampton. It's called SMS, and we just finalized the contract with them to do the retrofit. Just to speak numbers, I think the numbers come up here. I mean, the ship is around $27 million. The retrofit is around $6 to $7 million because we have to pay an overtime fee because of the holidays. And then the actual system cost, the 20 by 20 system, is around $6 million. The processing recycling system that goes in the ship. And then we actually have to pay crew while it's in dry dock. I mean, it's crazy. When you don't stuff people. 2-minute warning. Okay. All right. Keep going. So this is a chart I showed. Depending on the opening, the World Economic Forum, on how the process is going to grow. You say it's going to double by 2030 or 5x by 2050. It's interesting, the consensus out there is not really a consensus. And if we have a vision to go to 5 ships out there. Not necessarily, if we could do 5 shifts, we could take care of it basically by 2030, depending on the rate of ingestion every year. Ingestion meaning intake into the GPGP. So here's some of the budget numbers I showed you. We started with a $40 million government in the UK, and then we have the shipboard systems. One of the interesting things is that it costs over $2 million a year to insure a ship like that. You'll figure that one out, huh? So, and then $1 million a year for a crew of 14. So stuff I never imagined too. But anyways, so some of the timeline of the development, start with the idea. I kind of verbalized that in the beginning. So we'll give you the slide deck. Someone asked about that earlier. And the hybrid system was cleaned and shipped. I have some pictures later on. We're scheduling our big launch. We're going to try and hit Earth Day 2020, which is the 50th anniversary, April 22nd. If it slips 2 days, it'll be my birthday, April 24th. I'm a little older than 50, but that's all right. And then just some, okay, so I can end here and ask questions. We've got to get it from the UK all the way over to the GPGP, so we're trying to figure out the best way to go. Everyone's got ideas, I'll tell you what, so it's going to be a lot of fun, whether we go up to Japan or we shoot across or we come out to the islands up here. Again, maybe some of the research ideas could influence that as we go, and then we'll have a port in Long Beach too. So we have a scientific and an educational advisory board. So that we are taking applications if people want to get involved in our organization from a subject matter expert basis. And I think that's about it. Any questions? All right.
I know there's going to be so many questions.
Try to make it fast. I think she had her hand up first. I'm not doing that.
Have you, this is
One
very
question, because then we got to move on.
Have you looked at emissions out of the process?
Process is carbon, yes, absolutely. And it's a zero carbon emissions process because of the active and passive storage.
How about other toxins?
Is that a second one?
How about you look at toxin emissions out of your process?
Well, because it's a zero emission process and we capture everything, there is in the cyclone, you do have debris that comes out of the bottom. It's about a barrel a day. If you do 50 tons, you get about 45,000 liters of fuel a day, but the barrel is the char, and then some people call it a tar, but it's more like a grease-like substance. It can be processed secondarily, but not on the ship efficiently. There's some labs that have asked or even offered to secondarily do the processing of that. So I'll be around. We're committed. I'm actually here through Sunday, so if you have any questions, easy access, email, LinkedIn, as we talk
I
about.
can't say no to George. So
Thank you.
go ahead and ask me.
This looks like a great collector for little pelagic sea turtles.
Yeah.
And we tried doing this with the side trawl in the 80s, Paul Chioda and I. My question, briefly, when the people are sorting what's coming up through the front end, is there anything that would harm little dinner plate sized sea turtles that came up with the plastic before it got to the conveyor belt? Is there anything that would crush them, mush them, hurt them?
No, that actually the people there, because it can be an automated process, the people are purely there for sorting of wildlife and metal, but we're going to have automatic metal sorting. But I think what would be nice in this forum here is that you have Mary out there collecting nets and things like that. You have the other ODA, you have Surfrider doing beach cleanups as protocols for separating biology or biological life from debris. And I haven't seen anything yet in the industry. If you guys have something, you're working on something, we're more than glad to incorporate those into our shipboard operations. So that's, again, if I could throw a bone out there to the team, sorry to take that.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody good? Thank you.